8 countries that are impossible to visit. Syria. Having a visa is not enough to get into the country. A traveler who has been there said that he flew into Beirut and had a contact who picked him up and took him to the border. The immigration officer had refused to believe that he was in Syria as a tourist, but he let him go after a bit of coaxing. Earlier it would take around 10 to 12 weeks for your visa application to be accepted, and now it has reduced as it is easier getting into the country in today's time. Yet many Americans and Britishers take longer to get in than any other nationalities. You must have a guide to get into country. But you may find more trouble if you have stamp of Israel on your passport to get into the country. Yemen. Visiting this country is considered a great headache, and many governments advise against visiting this country. A traveler who visited the country said that the country was the hardest to get into. As Saudi has imposed a no-fly zone through the Yemeni airspace, and there are no commercial flights, due to the war, visas are considered to be very hard to come by. But this was 4 years ago now. The story is a bit different. If you are an American, you won't get a visa to visit this country. Nauru. This is an island country located in the South Pacific Ocean. This country is really small and gets only about 200 tourists in a year. Tourists do not have many places to stay, so you are supposed to book pretty much in advance and pay a lot of money. But that is not it, as you even have to get a letter from a local sponsor. They have only one airline that transports you there, and you cannot expect to get a taxi as soon as you get there. This island country has very little infrastructure, and the frequency of public transport is almost non-existent. A trip to this country would require you to plan months in advance and will even cost you a whole lot of money to get here. Eritrea. This country is known as the North Korea of Africa. This northeastern African country is difficult to visit as they are known to be unwelcoming to strangers. First off, your visa to get into this country might just be refused. Especially if you are a foreign journalist, don't expect lavish treatment, as the country is known to be secretive politically. Even if you get your visa approved, your troubles would have just begun, as you will need permits to visit anywhere outside the capital. A permit per place or site, which means you will have to apply for a lot of permits, which also means that you cannot get into a public transport without a permit. Libya. Getting a visa for this country is very difficult, as they are known to refuse it if you aren't invited to do business. And if you are on a diplomatic mission, forget getting the visa being issued at all. You may get a tourist visa as an American, but if you don't have a sponsor or a letter from someone with greater authority in the country, your visa will be cancelled. A traveler did find a company that promised to get them a visa, but there were conditions. One was that they could visit places only with the travel company, and visit only the places mentioned on the tour, and secondly, all of this would cost an arm and a leg. Saudi Arabia. This country initially did not let any outsiders get in if they did not have any business inside the country. That has changed a bit, as they now allow tourist visas, but it is restricted to certain events inside the country. Many deportees work in the nation, but tourists cannot go anywhere they want to in the country. And if you are a woman who is under 25, it is the hardest, even impossible, to get a visa unless and until you aren't going with your husband or a male chaperone. South Sudan. A journalist claimed that getting a tourist visa for this country is next to impossible. The journalist did get a press visa, but he was still required to get a visa from someone inside the country. If you do not have an invite to get into the country, you might face a lot of problems. But many say that this area of the world is the most vehement, and it is extremely stupid if you consider visiting this place. Embassy staff of the US are known to travel in armored vehicles and they cannot venture out onto the streets alone. The country can issue a visa to you if you have travel plans booked ahead of time, but you better follow some rules, which also involves no photographs. North Korea. This country is not that hard to get into compared to the other names on this list. And if you don't break laws, you will be completely fine in this country. But getting into this country means a lot of hassle, as firstly you will have to book a travel company which is connected to the North Korean Tourism Ministry. But that means that you can visit this country only and only with a guide and cannot explore it on your own. You will have 2 guides with you all throughout your trip. Getting a visa issued for this country can take anywhere from a week to 6 weeks. It is considered breaking the law if you move around without a local guide or your travel company.